One phone call that could shake the entire dressing room at the racecourse. A Wrexham legend potentially heading to our League One rivals, and the timing couldn't be more complicated. Alright Wrexham fans, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button. We cover the Red Dragons like nobody else, bringing you the latest from the racecourse every single week. Right, 3 absolutely massive stories for you today. We've got a contract extension that'll make you breathe a sigh of relief, some transfer speculation that's raising eyebrows, and then the big one, a situation involving Paul Mullin that could get proper messy. Trust me, you need to stick around for that last one because it's a genuine game changer for Wrexham AFC. Let's crack on. Here's some brilliant news to start with. Max Cleworth has put pen to paper on a new contract that keeps him at Wrexham until 2029, with an option for another year after that. Now, if you've been following the lads this season in the Championship, you'll know Cleworth has been absolutely immense. The 3-year-old centre-back has started all but one of our 26 Championship matches, and he's looked the part against some seriously good opposition. This is a player who came through our academy, made his debut as a 7-year-old back in 2019, and has been on an absolute journey ever since. Phil Parkinson gave him his league debut back in August 2021. His first game as gaffer, actually a 2-2 draw at Solihull Moors. Since then, Cleworth's made over 150 appearances for the club and been part of 3 successive promotions, 3 from the National League all the way to the Championship. He's won Young Player of the Season 3 times, and frankly, he deserves every bit of recognition. Here's the thing that makes this deal even more important. There's been genuine speculation linking him with a 12 million move to Aston Villa, Premier League Aston Villa. Now, Parkinson's knocked those rumours back, but the fact they existed in the first place tells you everything about how highly rated Cleworth is right now. For him to commit his future to Wrexham at this stage of his career, that's enormous. He could have tested the waters, seen what else was out there, but instead he's backing the project, he's backing Reynolds and McElhenney, backing Parkinson, and most importantly, backing his hometown club to keep climbing. Cleworth himself said it best. I've always wanted to test myself against the best players possible, and I feel I've adapted well. And he has, hasn't he? The Championship is no joke, but he's looked composed, physical, and intelligent at this level, with Wrexham currently 9th in the Championship, just 1 point off the playoff places after winning our last 4 matches. Having that stability at the back is crucial. We're pushing for something special here, and keeping our best young talent is a massive part of that. But that's not the only news coming out of the racecourse this week. Right, this one's a bit different. It's not directly about Wrexham, but it involves a player who's been loosely linked with us, and it tells you a lot about where we are as a club right now. Josh Sargent, Norwich City striker, American international, 25 years old, has been disciplined by his club and told to train with the reserves, after what Norwich boss Philippe Clement called unacceptable behaviour. Apparently, Sargent made himself unavailable for that FA Cup tie against Walsall, and now he's been frozen out completely. He won't even feature when Norwich come to the racecourse this Saturday. Now, here's where it gets interesting for us. Sargent's been linked with a move to MLS side Toronto FC for around 13.5 million, and former Wales and Norwich striker Ewan Roberts suggested on a podcast earlier this week that Wrexham should be looking at him. Roberts reckons it'd be a smart signing if we fancied a punt. But here's the reality check. Norwich has slapped a 100 million valuation on him, 100 million quid, even for Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. That's not happening, is it? Clement basically said as much. If somebody comes tomorrow to pay 100 million for Josh, he will go. He's making it crystal clear. Norwich aren't selling unless it's an absolutely ridiculous offer, especially given they're in a relegation battle. So why am I even mentioning this? Because it shows how far Wrexham have come. 2 years ago, we weren't even in League One. Now we're in the Championship, 9th in the table. And when a quality striker at a club like Norwich becomes available, people like Ewan Roberts are saying, yeah, Wrexham should be in for that. That's the level of ambition surrounding this club. Now, will it happen? Almost certainly not. But the fact it's even a conversation, that tells you everything about the Hollywood effect and where this club is heading. Now, those are both significant updates, but what I'm about to tell you next could completely reshape the mood around Wrexham in the coming weeks. This one's complicated, emotional, and frankly, it's got fans divided. This is massive. Alright, here we go. The big one. Football League World are exclusively reporting that Bolton Wanderers are plotting a move for Wrexham striker Paul Mullin. Yes, you heard that right. Paul Mullin, Wrexham legend, the man who fired us from the National League to League One with 62 goals in 84 league matches. Could be heading to one of our League One rivals before the end of this transfer window. And here's the kicker. Mullen only just returned to Wrexham this month after his loan spell at Wigan Athletic was cut short. So we're talking about a player who left on loan, didn't quite set the world alight, came back, and is now potentially on his way out again, permanently, this time. Let me give you the full context here, because this story has layers, and you need to understand how we got to this point. Paul Mullen was absolutely integral to Wrexham's rise. When he signed in 2021, fresh off winning the Golden Boot in League Two with Cambridge United, it was a statement of intent from the new Hollywood owners, and he delivered 30 goals in his first season, 32 in his second. The man was unplayable at National League and League Two level. He became a fan favourite, not just for his goals, but for his passion, his commitment, and the way he genuinely bought into what Wrexham were building. Then came last season, our first in League One. Mullen had back surgery in preseason, which delayed his start to the campaign. And when he did return, he struggled to make the same impact. He scored just 3 goals in 26 appearances. Now, some of that was fitness, some of it was adapting to a higher level, but the brutal truth is that Phil Parkinson stopped picking him. So players like Sam Smith and Jay Rodriguez were preferred, and Mullen found himself on the outside looking in. So in the summer, Wrexham loaned him to Wigan Athletic, managed by Ryan Lowe, who's a mate of Bolton, boss Steven Schumacher. Mullen scored 5 goals in all competitions for Wigan, but again, he wasn't a consistent starter. Just 7 league starts from 20 appearances, and he was left out of 2 matchday squads before the window reopened. Wrexham triggered his recall option this month, and he's back at the race course. But here's the thing, he's still significantly down the pecking order. We're in the championship now, flying high in 9th place, and the forward line is stacked. Mullen, at 31 years old, is looking at limited opportunities unless something drastic changes. Enter Bolton Wanderers. Bolton are 6th in League One right now, but they've won just 1 of their last 6 league matches. Their strikers, Mason Burstow, Marcus Force, Sam Dalby, haven't been firing. Burstow's gone 14 matches without a league goal. Force has scored twice all season. And Dalby, who actually left Wrexham to join Bolton in the summer, has only managed 3 goals in 22 League One appearances. Steven Schumacher needs firepower, and he's looking at his fellow Liverpudlian Paul Mullen as a potential solution. Now, Mullen might not have the League One goals to excite Bolton fans on paper, but here's Schumacher's thinking. If you put Mullen in a team that creates chances for him, with wingers like a Mario Cozy or Dubry providing service, he could absolutely deliver. But here's what nobody's talking about yet, the emotional side of this. Paul Mullen isn't just any player for Wrexham fans, he's a symbol of the rise. He's tattooed on people's arms. He's in the Welcome to Wrexham documentary, scoring goals and celebrating with the car. He's the guy who chose Wrexham over bigger clubs because he believed in the project. And now he's potentially heading to a League One rival. While we're thriving in the championship without him, some fans are absolutely gutted. They see it as the end of an era, losing a club legend who gave everything during the most important years in modern Wrexham history. Others are more pragmatic. They'll say Mullen's 31. He's not getting game time. And if he can find regular football at Bolton, good luck to him. But there's a third group, and they're the ones asking the difficult questions. Should Wrexham have managed this better? Should he have been kept around as an experienced option off the bench? Did we give up on him too quickly? Here's my take, and this is where it gets controversial. I think Wrexham had made the right call, but the timing and execution could have been smoother. Mullen was phenomenal at National League and League Two level. Absolutely world class for those divisions, but the championship is a different beast. It's faster, stronger, more tactical, and while I'll always love what Mullen did for this club, Phil Parkinson has to pick his team based on what gives Wrexham the best chance of success. Now, right now, that's not Paul Mullen, and that's okay. It doesn't diminish what he achieved, but it does mean that if Bolton come in with a decent offer, it probably makes sense for everyone involved. Mullen gets to play regular football, Wrexham free up wages and possibly bring in someone more suited to the championship, and Bolton get an experienced striker who knows how to score goals. But here's the emotional reality, watching Paul Mullen in a Bolton shirt, potentially scoring against Wrexham next season if they get promoted, is gonna sting. There's no getting around that. What happens next? Well, the window's open until the start of February, so Bolton have time to put together a package. If they offer Mullen regular starts and a role in their promotion push, he'd be daft not to consider it. From Wrexham's perspective, If the fee's right and Parkinson has other targets lined up, they'll let him go. And honestly, that might be the best outcome for everyone, but it doesn't make it any easier to accept. Right, let's quickly recap. Max Kleewith signed a new deal until 2029. Massive news for our defensive stability. The Josh Sargent saga at Norwich shows how far Wrexham have come as a club, even if that particular move was never realistic. And Paul Mullen, Wrexham legend, could be heading to Bolton Wanderers as his time at the racecourse looks to be coming to an end. Here's what I think happens next. Mullen leaves this month. It'll be emotional, it'll be bittersweet, but it's the right move for his career and for Wrexham's progression. We're 9th in the championship, 1 point off the playoffs, and we've got genuine momentum. This squad is built for where we are now, and sometimes that means saying goodbye to the heroes who got us here. That's football. That's the journey. And with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney backing this club, with Phil Parkinson at the helm, and with players like Max Kleeworth committing their futures, Wrexham AFC are going places. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you sad to see Mullen potentially leave? Or do you think it's time for a fresh chapter? Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Reds.